Chapter 11 Symptomatology. The Materia Medica. The Homeopathic Materia Medica. The Materia Medica of Hahnemann is an enduring monument to the genius of its author, originally in its conception and design, and unique in its form and contents. Existent Materia Medica contained only the incidental observations, theories, and opinions of the drug action of men who gave drugs to the sick. Symptomatology. The first requisite to a correct understanding of the subject of symptomatology is to know the full meaning of the word symptom and all that it involves. Knowledge of true nature and constitution of a symptom is necessary in proving or testing medicines, in the examination of a patient, in study of materia medica, and in selection and management of the indicated remedy. Symptoms defined. A symptom is an evidence of disease or change from a state of health. Hahnemann defined any manifestation of a deviation from a former state of health perceptible by the patient, the individuals around him, or the physician, divided into two types: subjective symptoms and objective symptoms. Subjective symptoms. The symptoms which are discoverable by the patients alone, such as pain and other morbid sensation of the body or mind, presenting no external indication. Prior to Hahnemann's time, two symptoms were practically ignored: the mental symptoms and the subjective symptoms. Regular practitioner of medicine even today is interested very little in subjective symptoms. Hahnemann subjective symptoms naturally took their proper place in study of the case as expressions of the interior states of the organism, and particularly of the psychic and mental states, and they take the highest rank. They enable the physician to view disease from the standpoint of the patient. Hahnemann discriminated between various kinds of pain to analyze and classify pains, not only pains but also other subjective symptoms and feelings. There is something radically wrong with a system of medicine that practically ignores the great bulk of symptoms of almost every case and tantalizes the patient by learned explanation of their cases. Objective symptoms. The expression of disease in the sensations and function of that side of organism exposed to senses of the physician and bystanders. Totality of symptoms. Totality of symptom is an expression peculiarly to homeopathy which requires special attention. Totality of symptoms is true and only biases for every homeopathic prescription. Hahnemann, Organon, in aphorism number 6, says the ensemble or totality of these available signs or symptoms represent in its full extent the disease itself. That is, they constitute the true and only form of which the mind is capable of conceiving. Totality of symptoms means totality of each individual symptom. Every complete symptom has three essential elements: location, sensation, modality. By location is meant that part, organ, tissue, or function of the body or mind in which the symptoms appear. By sensation is meant the impression or consciousness of an impression upon the central system through the medium of sensory or afferent nerves or through one of the organ senses. The modality we refer to the circumstances, and conditions that affect or modify the symptoms, of which the conditions of aggravation and amelioration are important. According to William Borike, the modality of a drug are pathognomic symptoms of materia medica. Aggravation is meant an increase or intensification of already existing symptom by some appreciable circumstances or condition. Amelioration. It is technically used to express the modification of relief or diminution of intensity in any of the symptom or in state of the patient as a whole. The totality of symptoms means all the symptoms of the case which are capable of being logically combined into a harmonious and consistent whole, having form, coherency, and individuality. Hahnemann in Organon, aphorism number 7, calls the totality this image or picture reflecting outwardly the internal essence of disease, that is, of the suffering life force. While studying a case from the diagnostic standpoint, for example, certain symptoms are selected having a known pathological relation to each other, and upon these is based the diagnosis. The totality of symptoms considered as basis of a homeopathic prescription representing the therapeutic idea. Totality is the sum of aggregate of the symptoms. Numerical aggregate the entire number of symptoms as particular or single symptom, but they are sum total. They are organic whole as the individuality. Totality is the numerical aggregate plus the idea or plan which unites them in a special manner to give them in its characteristic form. Day book or records of a good proving. Symptoms of each prover are set down chronologically in order of their occurrence. Each symptom is a complete symptom, consists of location, sensation, and modalities. Symptoms are stored mostly in vernacular, the plain simple language of the layman. Day book of the provers are not the materia medica. Not until this mass of material has been analyzed, shifted, classified according to its anatomical, physiological, and pathological relation, and has its general and particular characteristics. To totality is a work of art formed by the mind of the artist from the crude materials and his commands. Important points to be understood, otherwise liability to error. Error may arise in placing too much emphasis upon a single symptom. Error may arise in attempting to fit a remedy to a mass of indefinite, unrelated, or fragmentary symptoms by a mechanical comparison of symptoms with symptom called symptom coverer. Failing in both ways, the prescriber may fall in level of so-called pathological prescribers. Characteristics and keynotes. Paragraph 153 of Organon of Medicine, comparing the collective symptoms of natural diseases with drug symptoms for the purpose of finding the specific curative remedy, the most striking, singular, uncommon, and peculiar characteristic, signs, and symptoms of the case are important. The more general, common, and undefined symptoms, loss of appetite, headache, debility, demand but little attention when of the work, and indefinite character. Keynote system practiced by the late Dr. Henry and Guernsey does not conflict with the doctrine of the totality of symptom. Keynote is merely suggestive as used in this connection, the reference being to the analog between materia medica and music. Disease is correctly defined as a loss of harmony in function and sensation. In pathology, the term pathognomic symptoms expresses what might be called as keynote of the disease, or which helps to differentiate it from other disease of a similar character. A characteristics or keynote symptom is a generalization drawn from particular symptoms by logical deduction. The characteristic symptoms are symptoms peculiar to the individual patient rather than the symptoms common to the disease. The characteristics of Jatropha curiae has cured the symptoms corresponding with general pathological condition when a patient was attacked with cholera. Dr. Lippe. The prover has his own peculiar characteristics, individuality affected by the medicine. In a peculiar manner, other differently constituted individuals experience different yet similar peculiar symptoms from the same medicine. Dr. Herring keynote system. Every stool must have at least 3 legs if it is to stand alone. He advised selecting at least 3 characteristic symptoms as the basis for prescribing. Boning-Husson Therapeutic Pocket Book. Boning-Husson famous therapeutic pocket book was devised primarily to deal with just such cases. Boning-Husson first conceived the idea of completing the symptoms partly by analogy and partly by clinical observation of curative effects. The aggravation in a warm room of pulsatilla, for example, might be first have been observed as applying to a headache. Later on, he assumed modality applied to all the symptoms to the patient himself. Modality is discovered in relation to any particular symptom of pulsatilla might be used to complete all other symptoms of the pulsatilla. Boning-Husson, in his therapeutic pocket book, distributes the elements of all symptoms, pathogenetic and clinical, according to this analysis into 7 distinct parts or sections altogether form a grand totality. First, moral and intellectual faculties. Second, locality or set of the symptoms. Third, morbid conditions and sensation. Fourth, sleep and dreams. Fifth, circulation and fever. Sixth, modalities, etiology, etc. Seventh, concordance. Each of these 7 selections is subdivided into rubric containing the name of remedies arranged alphabetically. Each part ought to be considered as a complete whole. It never yields more than a part of symptom which receives its complement from one or many of the other parts. In odontologia, for example, the set of pain is found in the second and the nature of pain in the third. The exacerbation and diminution of pain according to time, place or circumstances in the sixth, that which is necessary as an accessory to complete the description of the malady and the choice of remedy must be sought in different chapters. Dr. W.M. Borick or William Borick by this method has observed that a remedy is selected for a case that is found to possess in its symptomatology marked action in a certain location to compare with sensation, to pose the modality without necessarily having in the proving the very symptoms resulting from the combination. As for instance, tearing pain in hip joint, greatly worse in afternoon, relieved by motion, receive lycopodium. The studies found in Materia Medica, we do not find that is affect the left hip prominently locality, that is pain in various parts of the body are tearing sensation that are general symptoms relieved by motion and aggravation in afternoon. Modality. The pocketbook to a great extent overcomes the imperfection and limitations of Materia Medica. In constructing a Materia Medica from the materials of the provings, all the symptoms of different provers of the same drug are collected under the name of the drug. Second step, to distribute the symptoms which are collected under the name of various parts, organs and functions of the body affected by the drug. The drug symptoms are disease symptoms. They are symptoms of a drug disease. A person poisoned to a certain degree of arsenic or camphor or veratrum alb, for example, presents an appearance so similar to the suffering from cholera. Language of Materia Medica. The symptoms of the homeopathic Materia Medica experienced by the provers are expressed in plain and common terms. The everyday language is used, not the technical language of the medical professions. It is a record of facts of actual voluntarily experience in a sphere and under conditions open and common to all men. The experiments are made by men upon men for men under the natural condition which belong to the everyday life of all men. The knowledge gained by the vivation may be valuable to the surgeon. It is unnecessary for the physician. The homeopathic way of determining the effects of drugs by giving small doses of single pure medicines to intelligent, healthy human beings who can observe and describe their feelings is the only way to obtain reliable knowledge of medicines for use in healing the sick.